Hi everyone. I've been asked to introduce myself and my collection of poems called Radical Normalisation, due to be published soon by Carcanet Press. First, who am I? Well, who am I is the ultimate existential question, I guess, but I'll start with the usual. My name is Celia A Sorhaindo from Dominica, often called the nature island of the Caribbean. Radical Normalisation will be my first full-length collection of poetry, and I'm super excited, but also very scared in equal measure. In 2020, I published a chapbook called Wabanse with a small but very invaluable publisher called Papillot Press, based here in Dominica and also England. It was themed around Hurricane Maria experiences. You may be wondering about my accent. Well, my family and I migrated to England in the 1970s when I was 8 years old. So I lived in Ipswich for most of my life, and I returned back home to Dominica in 2005. Outside of school, I am relatively new to writing poetry. My working life was as a computer programmer, and I only started seriously playing with words in a more focused way within the last 8 years or so. And I haven't come through the usual academic or literary routes of MFA, etc. So I've been frantically trying to catch up, reading loads and intensely trying to learn the craft tools. I count myself incredibly fortunate to be born at this time when the internet has made things so much easier for new writers to get up to speed compared to previous generations. There are so many craft resources available online, access to poems, access to physical or online workshops, events, articles, interviews, and instant access to pretty much any information that you want. When I was growing up, I would probably still have to go to the library, or more likely, it was probably just impossible to get certain information or certain books. So serious kudos to all those writers who developed their craft before the internet age. I definitely haven't figured out all the rules yet. There seem to be quite a few, and or how to spell or pronounce some of the poetic literary terms, as I don't use them in my daily life. Things like enjambment sometimes trip me up, and honestly, for formal meter patterns, I often don't hear the stressed and unstressed syllables the way I think I'm supposed to. And I don't know all the famous UK and US canon poets yet that I might be expected to know, although a few have strongly made themselves known. So very often I find myself asking, what am I doing? And I suspect others close to me are asking the same thing too. But I'm definitely enjoying poeting so far. So what is Radical Normalisation about? Well, she is basically a poetic pondering of a whole heap of questions, the usual eternal existential ones of who, what, where, when, why, the origins of things, what is reality? That's something I ponder about a lot. How do I know if your reality, how you see the world, looks anything like my view of the world? Does the color blue look the same to you as it does to me? And what might it feel like for someone experiencing synesthesia or dyslexia, or to somebody experiencing what might be classed as psychotic break? And what exactly is the mind and consciousness as opposed to the brain? and what does a normal mind look like anyway, and who decides, and things like where do the thoughts come from, and whose voice do you hear when you're thinking? Does it sound like you? Does it have your accent? And what if one day it doesn't, or there's more than one voice? And how can we even hear a voice in our heads anyway? So these are things that I'm often thinking about. But the who am I question is the one that I'm most intrigued about. What does it mean to be or become our authentic selves? And what can happen if we don't, or we aren't allowed to be? And what is an authentic self anyway? And if consciously or unconsciously we suppress or repress, have to hide parts of ourselves when we are silenced or we silence ourselves. So the collection explores some of these ponderings and questions of origin. I've seen this quote a few times and said in different ways, which basically says that things like marijuana, alcohol, etc., are not the gateway drugs to addiction, that unhealed pain, grief, and trauma are, which really resonates. And I think these areas are often taboo topics to discuss, especially here in the Caribbean. And back to my what am I doing question, what exactly is poetry, a poem or a poet, and who decides these things? So I think there's some lightness in the mix in the collection too, so that's about it. Do I have a favorite poem? I don't have any favorites. I think each poem tries to go through its own individuation process, tries to be its own unique creation, and I just try to feel into that and guide it and let go into the process as much as possible. But one which I had a lot of fun creating, but which kind of makes me feel a little sad, is a prose poem and my Caribbean take on Claudia Rankine's Don't Let Me Be Lonely and her themes of otherness and loneliness. Beside the themes, it's also the fact that I can never read that poem out loud in public because I don't have the right accent. I can't speak in the nation language that the speaker speaks in. I don't have the right accent. I can hear the voice clear as anything in my head, but I just can't recreate it. So that kind of sums up for me the fracturing that forced or voluntary migration can cause. There are some events that happen in our lives which mean things are drastically changed forever and we can never return to where we were or to who we were before they happened. A big thank you to the Car Connect team, Michael, John, Andrew, Jazz, Becky, Alan, and also everyone who has been a key part of this journey. I can't mention everyone here, but I just want to give a big thanks to my super supportive family and friends, and to my friend Polly, the publisher of Papillot Press, for kicking things off with my first chapbook collection. And a big thank you to my Caribbean writing family, who have been so incredibly supportive and generous with their guidance, their time, their sharing, their invitations to participate in various events, and whose journals and magazines my poems first found their home. And a special thank you to Shara McCallum for taking time from a really hectic schedule to read Radical Normalisation and write a few words for the back cover. I really appreciated that. And Shara's Mad Woman poetry collection was such essential reading for me. So thank you for listening. It would be great if you could make the virtual book launch. I'll just read a poem from the collection. It's called Listen, and it's after Damien Jr. Gong Mali. So listen. You speak life, speak only when told to, never say what you want to. They can trap you, bind and warp you, can use all against you, both silence and words too. Still, learn to speak life, articulate as you do. You can switch and snitch too. Word how you need to. Love hurt if you want to. No words can see through you. Speak life, recreate you. Listen. So speak life. Damien, we hear you. Even if words double bind you, can tongue tie you, they can free you. Just say what you have to. Your silence won't save you. You speak life? Can we even hear you? When you speak the unsayable, silence can speak life too. Listen. Thank you.